here's the thing. For everybody listening, don't make the same mistake the Bengals just did in any facet of your life.
People are going to get hurt. It's the hockey season. And if they want to make the deep run to the playoffs, they're going to need players. And Ben Hutton's a good defenseman that can help.
I don't think they will. If they don't have Anthony Davis, I'm saying it right now. If Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
I was very tempted to just put defense.
What about the Jared Cook play on the sideline? And then Mason Crosby's 55-yard field goal or something like that. That was a good one.
Come on, Austin and I have been saying this ever since Joe Burrow got injured.
I just do not see Harden putting in the same amount of effort into each game. And I honestly believe that's why he hasn't won a championship yet.
That's a perfect name. What you said, name brand players. Like, it's not the great value Target brand toilet paper or whatever. It's the Charmin Ultra Strong.
I swear we didn't script that.
Fultz is injured, and he really hasn't lived up to the potential of being the number one overall pick when he was selected by the Sixers.
Like you said, Ovechkin, he's getting older. He hasn't been playing as well as I imagined. He's one of the greatest goal scorers of all time, but he hasn't started off this season as hot as I would hope.
How is Joe Burrow going to get the ball to them if his butt is already on the ground when he finally decides who to throw to?
I don't really think the Dodgers are going to make the World Series this year. I feel like they'll make it to the NLCS.
And then I want to talk about the Fernando Tatis extension, because that really surprised me. Because he's so young. You see the Chiefs beefing up their O-line, and then you have the Buccaneers beefing up their defensive line.
Ingrained in the life of Tom Brady and what winning actually looks like, I think will be a very good move for Bruce Arians and this Bucs organization.
Hi, I'm Jeff Allen, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week for October 10th. Austin, it's a great day for both our teams. Well, for my team. Sort of your team. Like, you won, but like you kind of barely pulled it out. But let's just talk about the injury issues. And speaking of your team, you have a ton of injuries, including who is that guard? Isn't Humphrey your center, like the drafted center? He's injured, but there's some guard. I think it's Elton Jenkins.
Yep, Elton Jenkins, you're right.
Okay. And then, of course, you have not Brian Beluga. You have Bakhtiari.
David Bakhtiari, yep.
Yeah, Beluga's
with the Chargers.
Chargers, yeah. So what other... And then, of course, you have Gronk, and then the Cowboys have a bunch of injuries with DeMarcus Lawrence.
Well, also Tom Brady.
Oh, yeah.
He hurt his thumb. He'll still play because he's literally a robot, but still.
Yeah, I think it's probably because of the change in the preseason. So, in my opinion, I think it's the change in the preseason and how that disrupted the format that had been laid out in previous years. So, what do you think about that?
I mean, I agree. It's definitely has to do with the fact that there's less time for people to get acclimated. And this isn't baseball. This is a physical sport. And when you're going at it for 3 hours, I mean, the average baseball game and football game are about the same length. Except in baseball, there's not contact. And in football, there's a lot of contact. You got to get used to it. You got to make sure that your system's right or you're going to get hurt. If your O-line doesn't block correctly, your quarterback could get hurt. So there's less practices heading into the season right before. So I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to see injuries, and these are going to keep on happening if the league doesn't try to take a safer route.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Oh, we have, of course, the Russell Wilson injury. And that breaks his record of like most consecutive starts.
Current.
Yeah, current. He's definitely, I don't think he was close at all to the all-time. Like, I think he was at like 189, and the record is like 388 or something like that. And I believe it's held by Brett Favre.
It's a lot.
Oh, yeah, let's see.
I know it's Brett Favre, but I can't remember the exact.
Eli Manning, I think, is second. So list of most consecutive starts. Oh, I was wrong. It's Brett Favre, Jim Marshall.
What's Favre? What's
He's
the?
at 321.
Got it.
And then, so I guess the Eli Manning, he's tied with 10th with Jim Otto. I think it must have been the New York Giants record.
Yeah, probably.
So that was it. But speaking of crazy stats and records, I got a crazy stat for you. Lamar Jackson's total yardage, so combined passing and rushing yards, equal 1,860 yards. And that is more than 18 NFL teams, including the
Wait,
NFC North.
say
Green
this
Bay
stat
Packers.
again.
So he is 1,860 combined passing and rushing yards this season already.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson. He has more yards. Those yards are more than 18 NFL teams, including your Green Bay Packers, who have 1,738 total yards on the season. He's ranked 15th in the NFL in team total yards, with the Eagles just slightly ahead of him with 1,863. Do you want the full list of the 18 teams?
Yeah. Just run it
So
down
you-
quickly.
So you got the Niners, Colts, Panthers, Broncos, Seahawks, Washington football team, Jaguars, Packers, Falcons, Lions, Bengals, Patriots, Steelers, Saints, Texans, Jets, Dolphins, Bears.
Wow.
What's your
A
crazy
lot of those
stat?
teams are currently in a playoff spot, or a good bit.
Yeah. And we'll talk about Lamar because I like the passing game. It's more of a threat, in my opinion, with the Ravens. And I guess that's with the addition of Sammy Watkins. Because if you look at the passing game with the Chiefs, it's suffering, and they're missing Sammy Watkins. It could just be a coincidence, but there could be something there. What do you think?
It could be. They're not playing the best teams in the world right now, but I'd like to see them against some of the best defenses. I'd love to see them against, obviously, the Bucks. I think that'd be a great game. And there's some other teams in there. I would like to see them against a team like the Panthers, who have great secondary. I think that'd be an interesting game. But I mean, Lamar is really playing like the best quarterback in the AFC, him or Justin Herbert right now. So it's a great start.
What about Josh Allen?
Josh Allen's playing well. I think Josh Allen doesn't have to carry his team as much as Lamar and Justin Herbert have to, but I mean that's just my opinion because I believe out of those three teams, the best defense is the Bills' defense. Would you agree?
I would say yes out of those three.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's how I feel as well.
What's
But
your stat?
my stat. So this is the most turnovers in a 5-game span in Patrick Mahomes' career. 7. He has a lot more. He has more turnovers than most teams. I think it was 23 teams. I can't find this stat like all the teams, but I know like the Cowboys have less turnovers. I know the Packers have less turnovers. There's a lot of teams that have less turnovers than like offensive turnovers than Patrick Mahomes has, and Patrick Mahomes has 7, 6 interceptions, 1 fumble lost. That's my crazy stat. I think that's pretty crazy considering it's only been 5 games and he has 7 turnovers. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's uncharacteristic of Mahomes. And it's something about why I'm starting to not believe as much in the Chiefs because time is starting to be a factor. I know it's week 4, but they're at the bottom of their division. And you have the Chargers leading that division now. So you need to flip the switch.
Well, they're the only team under 500 in their division.
Wow.
There's one team, and it's the Chiefs. If you would have gone into the season, I would have probably said Broncos or Raiders. I would have thought the Chargers would make improvements as they've shown, but I probably would have said they would be 3-2, not 4-1. I said the Chiefs would have been 4-1 or 5-0. Maybe they lost to the Bills. Maybe that would be the only game I would have given them a loss. And they've really, because of their turnover issues, have proven not to be that great of a team. I knew their defense wasn't all that. It's given up a ton of points against a lot of these teams.
And the thing is, the defense doesn't make key stops like it did last year until the Super Bowl when it just like
It
fell
made
out.
no stops in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. But to move on to another stat. So, 12 missed PATs across the NFL in week 5. That ties,
Oh, that's just PATs.
Well, yeah, that's just PATs. That ties week 11, 2016 for the most PATs across the league in a single week in the Super Bowl era.
Wow.
Then, of course, you have the Bengals and Packers game when there are 5 consecutive missed field goals.
None of those were PATs. I mean, Mason Crosby did miss a PAT in the game, but those 5 weren't PATs. So,
Well, yeah, I just saw the PAT stat.
yeah, a lot of missed field goals in the Packers game. As a Packers fan, I was a little worried, but it's the Bengals, and they've never historically been able to win those type of games when they need to win. If they would have won that game, I'd be a little more worried for a good bit of the teams because Cincinnati would have been 4-1.
Yeah, I was rooting for the Bengals. I wanted to see Cincinnati at 4-1. And like Jamar Chase looks good. I still probably take Penei Sewell. But the offense was burning him. And it was just really good. So when I called you, you said you weren't worried. You were fine.
Well, when you called me, he hadn't missed the 3rd and 4th field goal. He'd only missed 2. He missed the 1 in a regulation and the 1 in overtime, and then he texted me, "Are you worried?" No. Then he misses another. And I'm like, okay. No. He misses another one after that, and then he makes the last one. He goes 1 for 4 at the end. But I was not worried until he missed the second one in overtime, and then after that, I'm like, there's not that much time left. We got to get the ball back. If the Bengals want to run out the rest of the clock, they could. But yeah, definitely a crazy game that ended up going the Packers' way. But either team could have won that game because both teams were trying to tie.
And then with the Chiefs, could they miss the playoffs? I would say yes, but I'm not ruling them completely out. Like, I think you have to give them the benefit of the doubt because they have in the past flipped the switch for offense. And if they can flip the switch on offense, if Mahomes can go to normal Mahomes, like he's still Mahomes, but he's off a little bit. If he can go back to no turnovers in September, then I think the Chiefs will make the playoffs because I think the Raiders and the Broncos are both they're losing steam now. But the main thing is the Chargers. But I think the Chiefs maybe become a wild card team.
It's possible. I don't think they win the division. I think they've lost it. If they don't turn it on now, I don't see the Chargers losing. I don't think the Chargers are going to lose 4 more games. And that would be they would go 12-5 if they lose 4 more. That's the most I could see them lose. And the Chiefs, I don't know if they could go 12-5, especially if they lose to the Chargers again. That means that the Chiefs are going to have to go 11-1. Yeah, 11-1. They'd have to go 11-1 to pass them if the Chargers lose 4 more games.
The Chiefs also have an interesting schedule. 2 tough matchups. Packers and Cowboys. You also have the Titans. And
you have the Chargers again.
Well, yeah, Chargers. Raiders, Broncos, Steelers, then I guess Bengals. But the two main teams that stand out to me are Packers, Cowboys. Because Packers, of course, you have Aaron Rodgers. And I think if Mahomes doesn't change, I think Cowboys can get a win against the Chiefs. Because
because he threw 5 picks.
Yeah, I think Trevon Diggs is going to intercept Mahomes.
Here's the issue with Trevon Diggs. He's not the best in coverage, but
yes, he can get burned. That's what scares me.
Does get burned. It's not he can. Almost every game he gets burned on a play, but his passer rating against is so low because he catches so many picks. he's the lowest passer rating against. That was going to be my last stat. I actually had 3. My other one is that who do you think has more rushing yards this season, Dak Prescott or Justin Fields?
I'd probably say Justin Fields.
It's Dak.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
I think that kind of shows the issues that the Bears are having. That through 5 games, and Justin Fields has played in all of them, and some of them he was only running. How does Dak have more rushing yards than Justin Fields? That just makes no sense. And most people didn't think that Dak was going to be running at all after his ankle injury.
He doesn't. There are moments when I'm like, go run it, and he doesn't run, and I think that's him being precautious. Like,
But he still has more rushing yards than Justin Fields.
yeah, that's crazy.
But yeah, back to the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes and Eric Bieniemy get together. They have to decide what their issues are and address them immediately, or they may not make the playoffs. I think that's a good transition to what the playoff schedule or picture is right now. What do this the top 7 teams in the NFC, and we'll talk about the NFC, and then do the AFC, and we'll talk about the AFC.
Okay, so the NFC right now, number 1 seed is the Arizona Cardinals, as they're the last undefeated team left. Then number 2 is the Cowboys, 3 is the Bucks, 4 is the Packers, 5 is the Rams, 6 is the Bears, 7 is the Carolina Panthers. So Cardinals at number 1, very surprising. Cowboys at 2. I think just the Cowboys being ahead of the Bucks and the Packers.
Well, that's just because of tiebreakers. We
How do
really
the
should
Cowboys have a tiebreaker over the Bucks though?
points scored probably.
Oh, okay. Because
So-
the head-to-head Bucks.
Yeah. Points scored. I think or it's also record against equal opponents. I actually have no idea how the Bucks are below the Cowboys. I'm actually really confused. But yeah, because of like what you just said, the tiebreaker. Do the Cowboys and Packers play this year?
No, they do not. But here's my thing that I want to get to. The Cowboys and Packers are going to meet in the playoffs. That's how it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then you and I are going to, I want to do a little quote unquote bet of maybe like if Packers win, I have to buy a jersey at a reasonable price of any player and then I have to wear it.
Do I get to choose the player?
Yes, you choose the player and then I have to buy the jersey, but not
Okay.
like
You want to go quarterback or cornerback? If the Cowboys win, I get Diggs. If
no.
Packers win, you get
I was gonna
Alexander.
pick. No, like it's gonna be in the moment. Like, what player do I want you to wear, or what jersey?
I'd probably get David Bakhtiari because he's number 69.
I thought you were gonna make me get a Jordan Love jersey.
No, I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
Well, yeah, that's why we can discuss it off air, but it's going to happen. And I don't know how I would feel. I don't know who would win that matchup. Probably be Packers, just because you're our kryptonite. But I like our defense, and our defense doesn't even have our best pass rusher on defense right now.
But our O line's insane. So
But like our defensive line has been doing well, and our best pass rusher is not on. And we don't even have Neville
DeMarcus
Gallimore. Neville Gallimore, he is not bad, and he is a huge person on the inside for the Cowboys.
Bakhtiari would not allow 1 sack if DeMarcus Lawrence was on him. Not joking. He would not allow a single sack.
What about Randy Gregory? Randy Gregory has been doing well so far. He'll be on the other side, putting pressure.
Your D line is good. It isn't great.
Osa Odigizua.
Good,
get
not
pressure
great.
on
I
the
need to see
inside.
you guys go against the top tier offensive line because I haven't really seen it. They went top tier offensive line you guys went against, you lost, and that was the Bucks.
Well, but like still, like people have been saying, well, do you think you could beat the Bucks in the playoffs? I'm like, we were 1 offensive pass interference call away and 1 pick from Trevon Diggs, and that's the first game of the season.
That should be worrisome, right? Because Tom Brady usually loses at the beginning of the season. So
No,
I think most of those.
Trevon Diggs had the ball in his hands, but he dropped it, and now he's going on a tear. So I think
Well, my point is that Brady's normally not good at the beginning of the season. I fully expect the Bucks in the playoffs versus the Cowboys. I would think that'd be a blowout. I think the Bucks would steamroll.
I totally disagree. I think Cowboys.
You think the Cowboys would beat the Bucks?
No, I don't think they could.
Oh,
I'd
of course they
I have to
could.
see more, but I don't think it's a blowout at all. That's a very low chance.
My guess is 43-21 would be my
No, I'd
score.
probably say 31-28.
Who's guarding Gronk on your defense? Jabril Cox?
Maybe.
Keanu Neal?
Is Grant going to be fully healthy at that time?
By the end of the
What
season,
happens if he
yes.
gets injured again?
Now we're just playing chance. I mean, what happens if Dak's out again? He was out last year. What happens if a freak ankle injury happens again? You guys don't make the playoffs, so we're playing chances here.
I think it'd be a very close game because of just and the thing is the two corners that we drafted have not played significant snaps yet. It's just getting warmed up. And you mentioned Jabril Cox. Oh man, I'm so excited to see him play. That was such a great defensive play as he was able to get there to Daniel Jones, stopping that touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Daniel Jones did get hurt, but I don't blame that on Jabril Cox. I blame that on Daniel Jones.
I don't blame either. It's just a freak play.
Well, yeah.
That's
I just
how
saw
it works.
Daniel Jones lower his head, and I'm like,
Well, I don't think that's where he thought that Jabril Cox was going to hit him. I feel like he was lowering his head trying to reach the ball forward, like trying to get more yards.
oh yeah.
But we can move on to the AFC, which is, I think, even more interesting. The number
Yeah.
1 seed, we have the Chargers, 2 Ravens, 3 Bills, 4 Titans, 5 Bengals, 6 Raiders, 7 Broncos. This has no Browns, no Patriots, no Steelers, no Chiefs, no Dolphins, no Colts. What do you make of this?
Ravens could be a scary team just because of their offense, but I think the Bills would dominate at the 3 seed. I think the Bills just have it in. They just have that fire that we saw from the Chiefs a few years ago.
This would have a playoff matchup of Ravens versus Broncos, which was the 2012 AFC Championship game when the Ravens came back and won that game and ended up winning the Super Bowl. It has Raiders versus Bills, which I never thought I would see in my lifetime. And then we have Titans versus Bengals. What a game. What a game. And then obviously the Chargers would have the 1 seed and would play. I could only imagine if somehow, some way, the Bengals, Raiders, Broncos, and Chargers meet in the next round. The AFC's been so unpredictable, and out of these teams, okay, let me ask you this:
Wait, AFC or NFC?
Let's just do. Okay, I'm going to ask you these 5 teams, the 5 most unlikely teams: Bears, Panthers, Broncos, Raiders, Bengals. Of those 5 teams, how many do you say make it actually to the playoffs?
It's Broncos, Raiders, Bengals, Panthers, Bears. Correct?
Yes. Of those 5 teams, how many make it at the end of the season? I would say 1.
Right now? Or I'd probably say 1 too, and I bet we're the same team.
Say yours.
Panthers.
Yeah. That's my one.
Because of Matt Rule. My main thing is coaching. That's what puts me over the top.
Well, I like Zach Taylor.
Zach Taylor, in my opinion, is a good offensive mind coach, but I don't know if he is the right person when it comes to postseason. Matt Rule, to me, seems like the guy. He has the X's and O's people with Joe Brady, and I think he has, because of the leadership he had, like he's rebuilt several colleges, and now he's on to the Panthers. Raiders, there's, of course, just the
Chaos.
new head coach. Yeah, it's
chaos.
chaos.
They're not making the playoffs. They're not. They're just not. They play the Broncos this week. The Broncos are winning the game. I would bet a lot of money
Really?
if I actually bet. Yeah, the Broncos. The Raiders have a new system now. Or I don't know if they're on a full new system, but the confidence is down. Carlton Sibbs now sitting out. I mean, all hell is breaking loose.
Really? Is Bridgewater starting for the Broncos?
Yeah, he should.
Okay.
I'll check right now, but I'm pretty sure.
Maybe that would. I don't know.
He's questionable.
Because if Bridgewater starts, then I probably lean Broncos. But if he doesn't start, I probably lean Raiders, even with the chaos.
If Bridgewater starts, I don't see a way they lose because they're just a better team. And with head coaching, I mean, a day one first time interim head coaches normally don't work out. Which do you think have the least amount chance or the less likely chance over all these 5 teams? I would say Raiders and then probably Bears. But I would say the Raiders have the least likely chance to make the playoffs.
Out of the 5 teams you gave me, correct?
Yeah.
Raiders or Bears. Yeah, you can't say Bengals. Broncos, just because their defense probably.
Well, I would probably. That's why I had the Bears above the Raiders. Is the Bears' defense is going to win them games. Now the
Very
Bengals
true.
play the Lions this week, and as long as they take care of business, they should be 4-2. The Panthers play the Vikings, and the Vikings are coming back. They're 2-3, and they've won their last 2 games, I believe. Now let me ask you some. Let me ask you some teams that are out of the playoff picture. How many of these teams make it? Saints, Washington football team, Seahawks, 49ers. We'll just do NFC. Do any of those teams, well, because you think the Bears are going to miss, which one of those teams jumps in? Saints, Washington football team, Seahawks, 49ers.
I'm probably going to say Niners. Seahawks, no, because of Russell Wilson. Washington, no, because the only way they get in my opinion, is by winning the NFC East, and I don't see that happening. And then Saints are just too inconsistent for me right now.
Washington plays the Chiefs, and we know Washington has a very good defense. Do you think they could win that game?
I think they could win the game because of their defense, but their offense just has to string enough together to get points on the board, which I think can happen. And maybe Heineke is sort of a dual, like he can run.
He can.
Maybe have some designed quarterback runs, because we've seen just how much trouble that causes the Chiefs defense. Like everything, they can't stop anything, but the run is a big thing, and especially when the quarterback runs, because that's what Josh Allen did on Sunday night. Same with Lamar Jackson on Sunday night as well.
But the Lamar Jackson one, that was more of the Chiefs shooting themselves in the foot.
I'm not just talking about the 4th down play. I'm talking about in general.
Okay.
I think that's why the Bills ran with Josh Allen more.
Okay.
Because they saw the film, and they're like, let's run with our quarterback.
I see your point now. So, let's say nothing changes. Miraculous world, everything stays the same somehow, some way. What happens this offseason? Who is fired? Who is not fired? What players are moved on from? Everything stays the same. Matt Nagy, I would say, stays. If he makes the playoff with this roster, I can't see why you would fire him making the playoffs back-to-back years, even if they lose to what would be against the Bucs, which they would definitely lose against the Bucs, in my opinion. But what happens? Who gets fired? Who leaves? What big riffles happen this offseason if the playoff picture stays the exact same?
Trying to think. Raiders interim coach probably stays and becomes the head coach.
I would agree.
Bears, Nagy does stay. I don't know who would be fired. Oh, Zimmer. Zimmer probably fired because of Vikings. And they probably bring in a young offensive coach for offense. Steelers, maybe I think they try to get a starting QB. Dolphins, probably in that QB mix as well.
Do you think Pete Carroll's fired?
No.
No, right? Because I think Russell Wilson saved his job. No joke. If they miss the playoffs, like I said, you remember what I said before the season? I said if the Seahawks miss the playoffs again, Pete Carroll gets fired. However, if Russell Wilson's out, he's out 4 weeks at least, but he could be out 6 weeks. If he's out 6 weeks and they lose all of those games, and then they start winning when Russ gets back, but they can't make it up the ground, I don't think Pete Carroll gets fired. But
I agree with you. That's a good point. So,
Do you think McCarthy is extended, like a long term?
yes. Wait, is this his final year of the deal? Was it just a 2-year deal? I thought it was a 3-year deal.
You can still be extended if you have 1 year left on your contract.
I think maybe you leave him 1 year on the contract, unless it's because depending how they do in the playoffs. But I
If he
do
wins a
think
playoff game, if they play, well, in this case, it would be the Bears. Yeah, 2-7. You guys would play the Panthers. Ooh, you guys would play the Panthers. Ooh,
that doesn't scare me.
that doesn't scare you. You only won by 8.
That was when we had Trevon Diggs out. We took Trevon Diggs out, and that's when we still had Jalen Smith at linebacker. And we'll have Michael Gallup back. We'll have DeMarcus Lawrence back. We'll have Leo Collins back.
But they'll have Christian McCaffrey.
Jabril Cox.
Jabril Cox can't stop.
But
I don't think there's a player.
Jalen Smith being out of the middle linebacker for the Cowboys is great because
I
that allows us
understand.
to play.
Jabril Cox is very good.
Keanu Neal didn't play against the Panthers, I'm pretty sure. He's technically a linebacker. Like, I know Christian McCaffrey would be tough, but I'm not that scared. The teams that scare me are Packers, Bucks.
Rams
do scare me. I'm not scared by the Cardinals.
You think
or
you
Bears
guys
or
could beat?
Panthers.
You think you could confidently beat any team besides Bucks, Packers, and Rams? Confidently beat, you'd have no worries heading into the game.
I should not have worries facing them because the main thing is the Cowboys. I think coaching wise, Mike McCarthy is a better coach than all
Matt
the three
Rule?
other coaches.
Oh, you're
Then yeah, at that point because he did school Matt Rule in the third quarter of the Cowboys-Panthers game.
But Matt Rule plus Christian McCaffrey equals a lot of points normally. All I'm saying.
Dan Quinn is a defensive genius.
That got fired.
Well, that was because he was a head coach. Just because you're a good offense coordinator or defensive coordinator does not mean you have to be a good head coach. Like Wade Phillips said, I'm a terrible head coach, but I'm a heck of a defensive coordinator, which is totally correct. So Dan Quinn has done, I did not expect Dan Quinn to do this much. I think talent is a thing that has really improved this defense, but I also think Dan Quinn has done a heck of a job. And I think my only fear for Cowboys defense is the second corner. Anthony Brown and Jordan Lewis starting worries me. And Trevon Diggs is a playmaker, but he does get burned, and
against the Packers, I don't know who guards Devontae Adams. Aaron Rodgers is way too accurate.
I'd put Trevon Diggs on Devontae Adams.
Aaron Rodgers isn't going to make a bad pass, though. He normally doesn't, especially in the playoffs.
I'm fine putting Diggs on Adams.
You think he could guard Adams?
I think he could guard Adams, and I think he could guard. He's the best option right now to guard Adams. I don't know who else you would put him on. I think you put Diggs.
You don't try to play a zone or something?
No, that's what I love about Dan Quinn. Like he doesn't have all the playmakers, but he still plays an aggressive defense, but he also lays back sometimes. Like we saw him in Carolina. He was less aggressive in the first half, then got aggressive in the second half, and that's when the tide changed. But then they took out Trevon Diggs because of back tightness. And that's when the Carolina Panthers started to make their way. Or starting to make ground up. I feel really good about the Cowboys. And this is something I think you've known me a while. I've never felt this way about the Cowboys before.
I can tell.
It feels different this year.
Why? Give me in one sentence. Tell me why it's different. One sentence.
Injuries.
One word. Wow. Okay, that works.
Injuries. Because look at DeMarcus Lawrence. Leo Collins is out because of a suspension. Neville Gallimore, huge defensive tackle. I have not heard a word from Mike McCarthy or any of the coaching staff saying, oh my gosh, I can even point to the Chargers game when we had Randy Gregory out and Micah Parsons had to play defensive end. that they mentioned that, but they did not mention, we can't do well because we have DeMarcus Lawrence out. We have Low Collins out. Like they're willing to put new guys in. Like Terrence Steele is playing at right tackle. He's not better than Collins, but he's doing a serviceable job, which is something in the Jason Garrett era. And last year you did get Dak injured, and that was a main part. And then your defense was just so bad. But like whenever, like the Zeke suspension, like from the Falcons, and then like when Zeke, Jason Garrett, I can't do anything. My starting running back's out. I can't do anything. Like just because one player out does not mean the Cowboys don't have a chance of winning. That's the main difference for me.
That's not true. There could be one player out and you guys lose almost every
Well,
game.
that's
and
your
Dak.
quarterback.
Yeah.
But it's just with the Cowboys and Jason Garrett, if you were missing one of the starters, they're like, we can't do anything. The lack of, they were like, we can't do anything. That's my belief.
You think even without, you think if CD was out, you guys still would be good on offense?
Yes. We have Cooper, Cedric Wilson, and Noah Brown is a nice wide receiver. And Gallup is out, and we still have a good wide receiving core, a great wide receiving core.
Great?
Yes.
There's great.
Cooper,
I don't know if you're great.
Cooper.
Without Gallup, it's not great.
I think it's great because of Cooper, Lamb, and then Cedric Wilson. Cedric Wilson is a very nice player, and I think his play right now lets us let go of Gallup this offseason, which I would be happy with.
Interesting. I only think one team has a great wide receiving core, and that's the Bucks. They just have way too many good wide receivers. Way too many. They have
They do have a great wide receiving core. Well, yeah, they have excellent. That's probably excellent. Cowboys probably with Gallup, I probably keep in great. I probably don't move him into excellent.
I would put Packers in great because if you put Adams cannot be guarded. He had like 220 yards last game.
Yes, but who else besides Adams?
I mean, I'm fine with MVS, Marcus Valdes-Scantling. I'm fine with Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb has been a good addition. Just nobody is Devontae Adams. The thing is, Devontae Adams is better than most teams' entire wide receiving core. Like, if we look at teams like the Jaguars, I would take Devontae Adams over every one of their wide receivers combined while healthy. DJ Chark's good, and so is Laviska Shenault, but both of them are hurt. So it just ruins their wide receiving core. If we look at a team like the Dolphins right now, Jalen Waddle, I thought was going to be playing better than he has. He hasn't. Devontae Parker's not played as well as he has. That may be because Tua's out.
They're quarterbacks. Yeah, I would
But Jacoby Brissett's not a bum. He's good.
But isn't Brissett injured now? Didn't he? I thought Brissett got injured.
He could have been injured, but my point is that he wasn't injured for most of the game and most of the time that he's been in at quarterback starting. But I would put Packers in great. Again, if we're counting receiving, that also means tight end, and then we have Robert Tonyan, and I definitely put us in great.
Cowboys have some nice tight ends too.
I would take
Schultz.
I would take Tonyan over Schultz. I like Schultz.
What?
I'd take Tonyan.
You take Tonyan over Schultz.
Yeah.
I take Tonyan over Jarwin, but over Schultz.
Of course,
like
I'd take him over.
Schultz is a good blocker, and he's a good.
Well, we have Mercedes Lewis, who's probably the best blocking tight end in the game besides Gronk and Kittle. I'd probably take Mercedes Lewis as the third best blocking tight end in the game.
But that means you're having two tight ends, or because Tonyan block?
He's fine.
Dalton Schultz is a good blocker and a good catcher, and he does the job of Mercedes Lewis and Tonyan with just one player with an extra roster spot.
So. And we're not even talking about running backs. I'm assuming you still liked Pollard more than Zeke?
I am fine with Zeke, but still, if I could do one thing on the Cowboys, never give Zeke that contract, or I never give Zeke the money. I say sit out. fine, sit out. I don't care. And then run with Pollard, and then Zeke will come crawling back. Okay, I'll get a deal later. And then I franchise tag him, and then I let him go, keep Pollard, and then that money goes towards a second corner or another pass rusher on my defense.
Probably corner. Definitely corner.
Probably corner. But I wish the Cowboys would have sent like a 5th or 4th round pick to the Patriots for Gilmore. I would have been fine with it. This was a very heavy Cowboys talk, but I feel different. What else have we missed?
We covered
Colts
everything that I put. But
Oh, yeah.
would the Colts fire Frank Reich?
I don't think so.
Back-to-back disappointing seasons. I think they would have made it further with Phillip Rivers if they had a chance against the Bills. We all know that they chucked the ball down the end of the field at the end of the game. They could have won, but they didn't, obviously.
Yeah, I don't think you fire Reich, but maybe. No, I think you keep Reich, but you have to rethink your quarterback situation. Like, you have to rethink, why did we make this trade for Wentz? Even though Wentz looked okay, but it's still developing for him. Because I think the quarterback market is going to heat up again, especially with this potentially being Rodgers' last year with the Packers.
We'll see if that's true.
We'll see. I don't know.
He seems pretty happy.
But is the GM happy? Is the real question.
What do you mean is the GM happy?
You're paying a lot of money, and you placed a first-round pick on a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
When, like, you and I disagree, but first-round quarterbacks, those 5 years you have on a cheap salary, or relatively cheap, because that's another thing in the offseason. Josh Allen has already signed a contract. Lamar Jackson hasn't, and neither has Baker. So the floor, the thing with quarterback markets is, in my opinion, no matter, even if they quote unquote aren't worth that money, that's what they're going to get paid. They are going to get paid near. Mahomes is at 45, right?
Technically, I mean,
Mahomes,
he makes 36 and then 38, and he goes all the way up to 50 1 year. But plus signing bonus, it's $500 million for 10 years. So
well, yeah, but that, I mean, annual, the average contract is probably they're going to be around 43. Jackson might go higher than Mahomes.
No,
He might.
No.
No. That's just the way the market is.
No, unless Lamar wins a championship, no, you can't. You can't do it. You can't. You have to prove you can win a championship first.
I both of them definitely get above 42 million. At least 42 million per year. That's just the way the quarterback is. So when you get a quarterback in the first round, you have as soon as you draft him, the clock starts ticking of when do you put him in and see how good he is before you give him that large contract.
That's what's so different about baseball than it is about football. Because baseball, they have the minor leagues, and until you make the majors, until you're playing with the big boys, your timer doesn't start. You can be drafted in 2012, but if you don't start playing until 2021, it's 7 years after 2021. Which means you got drafted in 2012, and you're not a free agent till 2028. That is 16 years into your season or career before you are a free agent. And that's what's really different with Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is now 29, turns 30 next year, and that's when he's going to be getting his big contract. But for Jordan Love, he hasn't played yet. He's obviously played a little bit, but I mean consistent starter minutes. But I'm still fine with playing Rodgers. I don't think Jordan Love's going to get paid all that much if he does not start all that many games before his contract is up. But we'll see.
We'll see. So now we will end the episode. Thank you for listening. Let us know what you think about the playoffs and anything we said. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders' Opinions.